Growth therapy. All right.
Hell yeah.
What?
Before we start this, I'm going to do my little plug.
Okay.
Holidays are just around the corner, and if you need something for that one aunt or uncle or funkle or weird person in your family, please check out brokegrowtherapy.com for all the merch. Because therapy's too expensive, but not this merch. It's well priced, super cozy and comfy. I'm wearing the sweatpants right now.
And I don't want to be broke anymore.
Yeah, no, you just want to be girl therapy. But just in time for the holiday season, there are things for ladies, for men's, for non-binary people, unisex,
It's
all
unisex.
that great shit.
It's for everybody.
Yeah, these are like amazing.
Yeah.
They're
And like
really
I
comfy.
even have it's not even just like small, medium, large. It's like 1X, 2X, 3X, 4X, 5X.
What's it called? You're finally like Beyonce's second round of Ivy Park
Yes.
that now has all sizes.
Yes, all sizes.
See, I love that.
Yeah.
Body inclusivity.
Exactly.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So support your local girl for brokegrowtherapy.com for all your merch needs.
That's me. Okay. Ready for this?
Yeah, I am. You ready for this?
I don't even know what the fuck we gonna talk about. We just gonna talk about our motherfucking problems.
Yeah, let's today is gonna be a real therapy. Not like a heavy therapy.
Yeah, but it's just
like
some real shit.
Let's be honest, it's going to be real in the sense that like for the first time ever in life, COVID has kind of made the world one great equalizer. We're all in this shitstorm together.
No matter what, how much money you got.
Unless you're like Jeff Bezos and you don't pay taxes and you're a horrible human being and you
Won't
ruined
get
my
into
hometown
that.
of
Yeah.
Seattle. Anyways,
hi guys, it's me, Stefanie Maegan, your host of Broke Therapy. And guess what?
Rose all day McAleese is on here.
Rose all day McAleese. I like that.
Boom! I'm here. I'm kicking it.
You've been on like literally half of the show is just episodes of you.
I
like counted. I think you're definitely more than 5 this season. Just this season.
Well, I mean, you keep asking me to come back.
I just love doing this with you. You know what I love though, and I've realized just especially with where our friendship is at now, like our friendship has been documented since day one.
So cute.
That's so cute. I love it.
That's our meet cute.
And that was like I wasn't even trying to do that. Like that wasn't like a content that I was trying to like it just happened so naturally, and like it just our friendship and just who we are individuals just has like grown, and I'm like, yes.
I mean, that's why my mom listens to us. She's like I just love your dynamic. Shout out to K-Dot.
K-Dot.
She's like a folklore on this podcast now at this point. But yeah, straight up, like it just is such a great vibe. And I think it's also one of those things where it's like, talking about our subject we're going to talk about, but like it's hard to make friends in LA. And so it was like one of those things where Jaffer like worked with you and was like, yo, my homegirl Rose, because she had literally just did my hair. She was like, she'll be great on your podcast.
I think I even checked you out.
I checked you out too.
What do you mean you checked me out?
She gave me your stuff.
No, I meant
Instagram.
What
do you mean?
Like I think I even like you paid through me, I think. Did you at the front desk and like was that what?
Yeah, actually, that's right. You did check me out. I thought you meant like
I know,
went
check
on,
me out.
Yeah, I checked you out on Instagram before.
No, I was working the front desk at that salon.
Yeah, we got to talking.
Yeah.
And you thought it was funny because I was like, oh, I have to do a photo shoot. And I was like using all the free makeup in your like little lobby area. Oh, yeah. Because I was like, Jaffer was like, oh, I want to take photos for the gram. And I was like, I didn't wear makeup. And then I like started going around and was like,
so funny.
Hey, do you have hairspray? And I was just like, shh. Yeah, it was great.
Oh,
but yeah, you did.
Now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember she came up to because I was working the front desk at the salon because in LA you have several jobs.
Hella jobs.
And she comes up and she's just like, you need to have my friend Rose on your show. And I was like, okay.
Now you can't get rid of me.
Yeah. I love it though. I feel like everything happens for a reason, and like I feel like we're in each other's lives for a reason.
Yeah, Morgan, you couldn't stop us.
No
Sorry.
man.
No
can tell
man.
us,
No man can stop this love.
Exactly.
It's a great one.
I know.
But yeah, that's how we met though, is that we were both kind of artists and struggling in LA.
Yeah.
And you have this amazing podcast, which I don't actually know the true origin story of like
Of my show?
yeah.
Really?
Like I've listened to like not like I haven't listened to the first episode, but I listened to like the point that I was on.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, a few episodes before because Jaffer was like, check out the style, see how it is, and I was like, oh, I can fucking vibe with this.
Right.
And then I
I
think
could fucking vibe.
I was like, yeah, I was like,
I can fucking vibe with this.
She's dope, yo. So yeah, it was like that, but like I don't think I actually know the like
how I started.
Yeah, how did you start it?
I guess that's true. I never really like fully talked about like it's been a fucking journey, you know. And I've actually wanted to have a podcast a year before I even started this one.
Okay.
Originally, originally,
yeah, no, we're gonna do this.
We're gonna do this. Originally, I was actually gonna have a podcast talking about fashion.
Oh wow!
Because I worked in fashion industry, so I thought like
you have great style.
Thank you. Now I just wear hoodies all the time. I just keep
that's
it,
a choice.
Keep it low.
That's
you know
cute.
What I mean? It is cute with my thigh highs.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ariana Grande.
Lamp shading.
There we go.
That's what they call it.
There you go. And then so I was gonna do because I was working in fashion. I went to school for fashion. I was working in the fashion industry, which is actually funny because that's like how I met Rachel. When I get to that later. Does anyone know how I met Rachel?
Actually, I don't know.
You don't know how I met Rachel?
I love origin stories on Friends.
Okay.
So
oh my god, we're like all over the place. Yeah. So I met Rachel because so
I love you, Rachel.
This kind of fits.
Sorry, I just have to like add that.
You guys met at the merch shoot.
I know, but and the thing was is that when we met at the merch shoot, it was like we just like talked. I was like, "Hey, girl, how's your dude?" She was like, "How's your dude?" And then you were like, "You have never actually physically met," and we were like,
"Oh my god, hey!"
What do you mean we haven't? Because I feel like we talk all the time. Anyway, so you and Rachel.
So how I met Rachel was so I was working in the fashion industry for this brand. This big brand. I'm not gonna say their name because they ain't sponsoring and they ain't shit.
But y'all ain't shit.
So I was working in the design department. I was not designing, but I was just like working in the, they call it the vintage library, and it was literally all of like their samples and stuff. And I was literally the person in the fucking sample like warehouse, like organizing stuff and pulling stuff for for designers. Yeah, that's what I was doing.
That's dope.
And it was just so boring because it was just constantly like organizing, you know, and I was just like, oh my god, I'm so bored. And I remember my coworker was like, oh yeah, when I'm doing all of that, like I just listen to podcast. And I'm like, what's a podcast? And so I looked at my phone and I looked up all these podcasts and I was like, oh my god, wow. And at that time, you know, I was like, oh, I want to do one. And I thought maybe I could do one with fashion, and it just never stuck, you know. And then it just didn't feel right because I was like, I feel like I'm just putting myself in a box, like where I have to like do fashion, you know. But I sat on it and I obviously went through different, you know, relationships and stuff and realized that I sucked at all of them. And I remember like thinking like, I was really bad at that job.
That's okay. We all are. We have that one job where we thought it was our dream job, and then we realized like this.
I wanted to work for that company so badly, so I would literally do anything. So that's why I settled for a position like that. And so because I just wanted to, you know, I was working next to people that I've always admired. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, whatever. I'll be here, you know. But I hated it, and I was not good at it. Let's be real.
I feel you.
I was not. I was just there, but I'm grateful for it because like it was a job that I would have to like kind of get lost in the clothes and I realized I hated fashion industry. But I listened to podcasts all the time because it was what kept me going.
Oh, yep.
And I would always look up like relationship type podcasts, and there was nothing that ever like stuck to me. Like I always heard all these really lame ones. I was like, this one's, and this was before like fucking Call Her Daddy and there's so many now. Back then there was nothing. There wasn't.
It was a niche market.
Yes.
It was like straight stuff like that was like NPR.
This is back when Obama was still in office, so this was a while ago. Like there wasn't that many like
a different time.
It was a different time. So there wasn't really anything what I was looking for. And I remember going to how I met Rachel, I wasn't really friends with a lot of people at that job, but there was this one girl that like would always come into my office, and she's like, oh my god, girl, and she would tell me all of her boy problems, and her name is Ava. And
Ava, shout out to Ava.
And like me and her just always like kicked it, got along. She was like the one person I really like fucked with at that job. That we also, when I left that job, so I started Broco therapy while I was there, and I'll get to that in a second. But when I left that job, me and Ava still kept in contact, and I always just really loved her, so I invited her on the show, and that's the hookup culture episode. And so when Ava came on the show, she promoted it, and Ava's best friends with Rachel.
Oh, that's so cute. I love that.
And Rachel, as soon as like Rachel was like, so like since day one, like supported, was like, oh my God, I love this show. And like even like promoted like her friend on it on her Instagram. Rachel followed me, like I followed her, and we were like Instagram friends, and we were like, I love her. Like from the moment I met her, I was like, oh, she's dope.
She's an angel. She's a literal angel.
And then like one day I was like, I want her on the show, and she came over, we got drunk, and we did an episode.
So I love
that's how I met Rachel. But yeah, I mean, I guess going back to like the working at that company, like I was just so bored and like sucked at relationships, and I just felt like I was always really anxious on like where my life was going. And at that time, I was like 24, and I thought I was supposed to have it together. For 24, we think that we're supposed to have it together.
See, that's the problem with millennials, though.
Yeah.
Because we have social media, so we see people's successes way too fucking much. And we are like literally bred to be everyone's a winner culture, as as the everyone succeeds. Like, and also the comparing, there's constant comparing, and it's just like, it's exhausting. But that's like the problem with millennials, is because we saw people like, you know, Mark Zuckerberg and shit like that be fucking millionaires by the time they're 25.
Right.
And then you see the Forbes 30 under 30 list.
Or you see like the Disney Channel stars like Demi Lovato and Selena Gomez thriving at 16. And I'm like, why am I not 16 and on Disney Channel? Yeah. I wanted to be on Disney Channel so bad back then.
Aren't you glad you're not?
I'm so glad I didn't.
You dodged a Disney bullet.
I did. Because now I'm working in the industry that I'm in now. I'm like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Because that's right. Yeah, no, your industry, you know, all behind the curtain. I know. Now.
Yeah. So, but like, thank God.
Yeah, but like that whole idea that's, you know, but you always wish what you can't have and all that stuff, and it's so annoying because we are part of that. I mean, the same way that like I was low key mad at the people. Like, I was one of the early bloggers on Tumblr, and I just remember being like, that's not going to be anything.
I love Tumblr. Yeah.
But, like, the people that blew up off of Tumblr, and you're like, fuck, I knew about this one. No one knew about this or whatever. Or, like, the people who made, like, careers off of Instagram and MySpace, and you're just like, but that was like, the
and that was, like, the height of, like, you know, I think influencers and Instagram was like really starting to come up, and you're realizing like, oh, people can make money off of this shit, you know?
And like the Paris Hiltons, you can be famous for being famous. Like,
exactly.
She is remarkable. She's awful, but she's also a remarkable human. I watched her documentary.
Me too.
I loved it.
I loved it too. I loved it so much. It made me love her.
It did, but it also
reminded me. Not love her, but maybe like kind of like
admire her. It
like,
made me actually hate Kim Kardashian more, which was like
really
weird. I don't know why, but like watching that, because I was just like, Paris. There's literally no figure that you can compare Paris or Kim to in history. Maybe Cleopatra, maybe Queen Elizabeth, where it's just like this figurehead, but they really are famous for being famous.
They started that.
They made it. And so it's like, you see that and you can't help but be like, I'm a failure at 22, when really, you know, now I'm 31 and I'm like, girl, I'm fine.
Right.
Everything's great. It will happen eventually. But
because I couldn't get it right with men.
Yes.
So I thought because I didn't have a relationship, I didn't feel validated.
Yeah.
And because I wasn't, like, I was seeing people my age more up in the ladder in their career. And I was just like in the shadows putting samples away and organize. You know what I mean? Like,
but then there's that one person that's like, oh my God, Steph has like a glamorous job in the fashion industry. Who you've never met this person.
And it was like, so not glamorous. I used to cry being like, this is so annoying and dumb. Like, I felt so empty.
Oh, trust me. I had a job like that, and I felt devastated.
But I'm grateful for it, because that's what kind of pushed me. Because I felt so, like, that's the thing. Like, I went to school for FITM. I wanted to be in the fashion industry. I wanted to make it. I wanted to be next to all these big names people. Like, I wanted to be up there. And like, when I was there and I was, you know, like, I even did, after working for that company, I did like fashion PR, and I was like, you know, like in the room full of people who were important.
Yep.
You know, and like still being so fucking empty.
Yeah.
And was like, I'm
this isn't it.
This isn't it, you know? And
because that emptiness is you being like, this is my dream job. This is my dream job. And then realizing, no, this in fact is not my dream job.
Y'all fucking suck.
It's crushing in a weird way.
Yeah.
It's like that's why I feel like so much coming of age stories happen in your 20s too. You know, the first one's like when you're in high school, sexual awakening and stuff like that. But in your 20s, it's like the idea that like, oh, I thought I wanted to do this my entire life, and it's actually not what
That's why I tell
do.
people who are like in their early 20s, still in school, like intern for everything.
Yeah,
don't intern.
Everything.
Do everything.
Yes,
like you have a little bit of interest in something, go do it.
Honestly, it's like it's one of those things where it's like one, it's a resume builder, and also it gets you into the thing where you're like, oh, this is actually what I want to do.
Like I thought I was so tunnel vision on doing something in fashion, even though I didn't really know what I wanted to do in fashion. I was like, I just want to be in fashion.
Yeah,
and like it just, and I was in it, and I was with important people, and I was like, this is so stupid. I just felt so fucking empty, and like I always knew deep down that I wanted something of my own. I wanted something that I could relate to, something that like fulfilled me, you know, and I just didn't know what that was. I didn't grow up thinking like I want to have a podcast, because we didn't know what the fuck a podcast was.
I know, that's like the weird thing.
Like I didn't, even though when I was younger, I have so many home videos of me in front of the camera being like, this is my talk show, Stefanie's talk show.
See, but that's the weird thing about childhood too, where you're like, nah, man, when I was little, that's like what I wanted to do.
And I didn't realize like that's what I was like. I have so many like home videos of me being a friend, like the video camera. Like I would steal my dad's camera and just record myself. I had several talk shows. I had Stefanie's talk show, then I had Stefanie CDs where I would review Britney Spears and Sync and like all those like albums. All those albums, I would do a review, and then I would sing and dance in front of the camera.
Girl, you need to upload these. I need to see this shit.
I need to find it for sure. Stefanie
oh my
CDs.
God, yes you do. I did one woman shows. So
what?
Like, oh yeah, I did I have a speech impediment, so I did Snow White and the Seven Drawers, and it was literally me doing the entire story of, and like literally like it's my aunt, uncle, and my mom and dad and my sister, and they're like laughing so hard, and I'm like, this is very serious, like stop it, you know. And then like I was like my sister was like laughing, and I was like, Queer, don't make me come out here, this is my big break. I was like, this is my big break, I gotta make this. And then like, you know,
I would like, is there videos?
I think there's a video somewhere, but there's like a narration, and like the witch knocks on the door, and I go, who the hell that, you know. I like knew what to say to like, but we need to like swap home videos. But like
so much.
But your childhood,
you always
in a weird way captivates.
Being a creative, you have to feed into that inner childhood, because
constantly.
When you're a child, that's when you're most creative.
Yes,
and that's when you'll like. I remember I actually like with my like home like the family video camera, like I would write scripts. I'm like, am I you? I would like write scripts, direct movies, and have my brother act.
Oh yeah.
And then we did so many different types of music videos and like movies that I even like put together like an award show. I organized an award show and filmed it and produced everything. And like had like
Shonda Rhimes.
Yeah, like I even had like my dad and my friends and whatever, and like in the audience, and we would even do performances, and then I would put all the nominees together. Like I literally would do all of
That's incredible. That's amazing.
Yeah.
But that's what it is like tapping into your childhood, because like, let's be honest, like kids are amazing little magical weird creatures that
they're
like
so fucking weird,
and they're so strange, and they're so insightful. And like when I was a nanny, like literally kids would say like, you know, they say the darnest things, but like they would say things and I'd be like, wow, that's really poignant for being a 5-year-old, you know. Yeah. But then like slowly by like, you know, society, the world, social media, you know, tablets in front of them, like it kind of like gets broken up, and then like, you know, you lose that magic. But if you really, you know, tap into so many different things, you're able to kind of reawaken it. But that's like the most authentic version of creativity is a 5-year-old. Is just a kid being like, I'm going to paint. I'm going to do an award show. I'm going to write a play. I'm going to like, you know, do chalk or like whatever it is. It's that gets robbed from us so early on that it's like the thing that saves us.
Yeah, and I think that's what I felt when having a 9 to 5. I was like, oh, I'm supposed to adjust to this lifestyle. Like I felt like I still was that kid that was like, I want to put on an award show. I want to like I want to put on a show.
Yeah.
I want to put a show together.
And you did.
And I did, you know? And like, I was so fucking bored at work. Like I fucked that job. Like I was so
I feel you, girl.
fucking bored at that. And I remember even trying to move up and like, I couldn't move to different department. Like I was really trying to move up in that corporate, you know, world. That ladder. Ugh. And like, because the company was doing so bad, like they couldn't move people up. So I'm like, I'm working my ass off
for a whack ass company that's not doing well.
And I'm getting good reviews on my work performances and I'm not getting anything. So I just be like, whatever, I'm going to sit here, fucking daydream about putting a show together.
An award show.
You know, an award show. But like I was listening to podcasts. I was like, shit, I'll do a podcast. And I didn't know. I was just like always sitting on these different ideas and names. And I remember I would talk to friends, be like, I don't know what to do. And I couldn't, I've had like so many names. I think at one point the show was going to be called #relatable. And I was just like, God, I hate that name. And
it's an awful name.
So bad. But that's the thing. In order to get to a good idea, you go through so many fucking awful ones.
People don't realize how many, like, as a writer, like I have a Post-it note on my wall that says "Don't judge the first draft" because it's literally doesn't know any better. It's a child, it's a baby, it's pubescent, it's just like gross, and like that's what it is. You have to like go through a bunch of things to like get to the final idea. Like
exactly,
you know.
You gotta brainstorm.
You gotta brainstorm. As much as I have my issues with Steve Jobs, like in his novel, or in his memoir, he like talks about like the way, it's not his memoir, but someone else wrote it. But anyways, the way that they got to the iPhone is that there was a bunch of other shitty ideas first.
Yeah.
You know, and that's true with any business, any company. You have to like start off with the bad ideas first. And that's like what we do in a writer's room. It's like, okay, let's start with bad ideas first. And you give out the worst
what you have
ideas.
to do. Yeah.
And you have to get like through the ugly and stuff. But the thing that I think is so interesting and amazing about you is that you had no experience in podcasts other than just being a consumer of them and a fan of them. But like, I literally I watch you every time you set up the mics, you plug in the thingy things.
Oh yeah.
And you learned all that. You taught yourself all that.
Yeah. I taught myself. I would research. And also I will say it's a perk dating a lot of musicians.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a
so they'll teach you, like they've taught me, like, oh, okay, this is how you use GarageBand. This is why it's not. Like I will say, fuck Charles, man, fuck Charles. But what's dope about him is that he really taught me a lot about my equipment. And actually, I will say, shout out to my exes because so many of my exes have helped me with the show. Like my ex, made the theme song. Charles helped me, you know, with my equipment. The ex also helped me with the theme song, also helped with equipment sometimes too. Like it's just like they would always help in some ways. And also like a good thing about Charles is like he introduced me to his friend from back home in Texas, and she ended up being the girl who always takes all my Broco therapy photos. So the ones that you see, the one that I have right now with the pink backdrop that's on the merch is my friend Mars that I met from my ex. Yeah, that he introduced us. And
see, Ariana Grande, thank you next.
Thank you next. So I made use of them. Literally, they've helped me put this together.
Yo, every person that comes in your life comes in your life for a reason.
Yeah. So, but besides that, yeah, I've actually, and it's crazy because I've never talked about this on the show ever. But so when I started it, and I actually had a dream about the show. And it sounds so cheesy to say.
No, it sounds beautiful.
Yeah, I actually had a dream, and in that dream it was like, therapy, too expensive, broke. Therapy is too expensive, too broke for therapy. Like I don't remember what the dream was. I literally do not remember. All I remember is like hearing that and hearing people being like,
remember
therapy,
the important part.
Yeah, the important part. But also I remember hearing people like support it and like it being like a thing, you know? And so I didn't know what that was. So I remember as soon as I woke up, I was like, I wrote it down, and originally the show was going to be called Too Broke for Therapy. Again, awful name.
We got to the great name though.
But then I looked it up and I saw that it was taken, and I was like so mad because I was like, I know I could do better than them. Why do they have that fucking name? Because I was so set on that name. And so again, I actually still have this notebook, but I was brainstorming like therapy, too broke for therapy, broke girls therapy, broke therapy, and then I chose broke therapy.
It's great.
Yeah, and then and I remember I had the idea, and I went to my friend, and back then I didn't have a laptop. I didn't have any equipment.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I
the
early days. And that's when I like first moved into the dungeon. So I was first off, I was actually really fucking broke. And I was really fucking depressed. I have journals that are around the same time that I was brainstorming broke therapy that were just so sad. Like I was going through it. So like in order to be like the show really helped me kind of like feel excited about something.
Yeah.
You know?
It motivates you.
It motivated me, and it made me feel like I could be creative, and it helped me like create something out of, you know,
nothing.
Heartbreak. And yeah, exactly. Literally nothing. I was living in a fucking basement. You've been there.
R.I.P. the dungeon. Good times. Good times.
Good times though.
Good memories.
So I remember I went to my friend Lauren, and I told her this idea, and I said, hey, like, I really want to start this podcast called Broke Therapy. And she was like the first person to ever believe in me.
Oh, Lauren. Shout out Lauren.
She passed away.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Shout out to Lauren. She was OG.
She was OG. And she was like, yeah, let me put it together. And so it was me and Lauren that like put it together. I don't know. I'm getting really, this is really.
Oh, emotional. Take a moment. Take a time.
No, I mean, I think it's such an important part of the story. Mm-hmm. And like, geez, I feel like I'm crying in every episode with you now.
I'm Oprah.
You're Oprah.
I know how to make you cry. But she was, I mean, you know, even as someone who came in late in the game, like, I know of her. You know what I mean? And like, she was such a huge part of it.
Right.
Because she was like, this is going to sound weird, but like the original investor. She invested in you as a person.
She was the first person to believe in me. I remember telling friends, and they're just like, okay, what's a podcast?
Yeah, right.
But she was just like, I want to be a part. Like, she was like down for it.
Hell
like,
yeah.
She literally, like, there has never been another person that's loved the show. Like, I mean, y'all love the show, thank you. But like, she's
OG, okay?
She was like, she was willing, like, she showed up, you know what I mean? She came up with ideas. She was proactive. Like, she was like so hands-on, and I could tell that she just loved it, you know? And like, I loved it too. Like, we were having such a great time together. And I think, you know, the hard part of just like sharing something with someone is that, especially a friend, is that you will disagree.
Yeah.
On a lot of things.
Yeah. I mean, you just gotta like,
so
going in business with your friends is really hard. It's also sometimes rewarding, but like, it is very difficult.
Yeah. And, you know, she wanted one direction for the show, and I wanted, you know, obviously my direction. And she just, you know, we disagreed a lot. And I got to the point where I told her, like, hey, because I was one, you know, putting in the money, whatever. I said, hey, stick to being a producer or just go. Mm-hmm. And she was like, you know, fuck you, I'm gone. Mm-hmm. And that was the last time I ever talked to her. And that, like, that, you know, we weren't friends since then. And it was always like, damn, how do we get here? Therapy. But yeah, it just, you know, there's friends that come and go into your life, and jeez,
take a moment.
She was always that one friend, like, that, you know, I've had friends like leave, and I'm, you know, you move on and you're like, whatever, it's fine. But she was always that one friend that I was like, I was always mad at her, even though she hated me more. She hated my guts. She hated my guts. We
all have that one friend.
She like was, and that always kind of hurt me that I had like someone out there, you know, especially someone that I was close with, feel that way towards me.
Oh, girl, tell me about it. I have that right now.
Really?
Like that friend that got away.
Yeah.
And you're like, I know you hate my guts, and that kills me even more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She hates my guts. And I would like alert her sometimes, and sometimes she would like kind of subtweet her shit. But anyways, you know, so I was always like, I was low-key hope that I would run into her, or like we would be friends again, you know? And like, I thought maybe one day we would get to that point, but it just never felt right, even though I always wanted to.
But she gave you so much.
She gave me so much.
This moment. That's huge, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the human issue, the human error, where we just like sometimes get sidetracked and too passionate and too overwhelmed, and that we just like don't know how to handle it.
And I sometimes I look back and I understand. It's funny because there's like videos of like where I was like crazy, like just I was just like my height of my creativity was just so excited.
Oh yeah,
you know, I was just like, I want to do this, and I'm not, you know, and a lot of those times those are really bad ideas, like we said. And I was just like very impulsive, like I want to do that, I want to do that, I want to do that. And she was always like, oh my God, you're so impulsive.
Yeah,
you know. But I was just super excited, and you know, there's a video of her just being like, I don't know. You could tell that she was kind of like, I don't know.
Like, okay, girl, yeah,
yeah.
do you?
But because I was just like this young, like you know. But so yeah,
passion is one hell of a drug, man.
She loved the show.
Yeah.
She did. She just like she believed in it, you know, but it wasn't a fit.
Yeah.
And RIP, she passed away earlier this year. And that was really tough.
Yeah, of course.
So I give her credit for this starting because I didn't have a laptop. She recorded everything. She did all the editing. She, you know, she showed up. She helped me arrange it. Like she was like, in those cases, she was honestly perfect, you know, and like she's really the huge core of the show. And yeah, she's a part of this story, you know? So I've never talked about it just because it's always just like, out of respect, I never wanted to put her on blast or to, you know, I don't know, like just kind of keep that private, you know. But I think that I've always wanted to somehow give her credit, and this is me just being like, yo, we're gonna talk about the show and the shit that's become what it is today. Lauren is a part of that. And you could still hear her in the older episodes.
Hell yeah.
So if you listen to like the really old ones, the first few ones, you could hear her.
She's like your OG producer. Yeah. She really left her staple in it. But like that's important. Creative differences with anything is hard.
And what's beautiful is that like what made me feel more at ease is that before she passed, she ended up actually being a successful podcast producer.
Hell yeah.
So
she just went on her own journey. Yeah, okay,
exactly. And I'm sure you probably have heard some of the shows that she's been on. You know, she's worked for big shows.
Hell yeah.
So she's really worked, you know, and she did that fucking thing. And so I'm happy that like even though we didn't, you know, we're not here today together, I at least Broke With Therapy at least was like helped her realize what she loved to do, and that's what she ended up doing for the rest of her life.
See, and that's like the important thing about like, you know, creativity and like, you know, collaborating with people and kind of just leading them to you. Like every person comes into your life for a reason, you know, and it's unfortunate. I didn't know you guys had a falling out. I just knew that she had passed, but I didn't know. But
she hated my guts. She hated my fucking guts.
And that's like, that's uncomfortable and you know, that sucks. But like, it also then shows how you still want to give her credit, and you're still like, yo, I'm not gonna lie, she fucking it was because of her, and like she really helped me, like, you know, collaborate or mold what girl therapy is today. And sometimes that's what you have to do in creative processes. You just have to be like, yo, thank you so much, but like now we just part ways.
Exactly.
Like, I'm always gonna hold you close to that.
What the positive outcome was like she ended up really fucking killing it, like for the rest of her life, like being a podcast producer. And then for me, like it, like honestly, with Lauren hating me and not believing in what I wanted to do, you know, what direction I want to go towards, like it put a fire underneath me where I was like, I'm a fucking do this shit.
Sometimes rivals do that. Sometimes like when you have a feud, it like helps.
I know, so it does.
In a weird way.
It's fucked up. But like I use that, like, you know, like even though I wish I would have had at least one more conversation with her, you know, but that I just have to accept that that's just what it was. But like at least even her hating me motivated her to do what she loves, and she motivated me to do what I love. So at the end of the day, I think that like it was for the best, you know. So,
everything happens for a reason. And it takes a lot of investment and time to sometimes get to the happened for a reason part.
Right.
But yeah, it's important. And I think it's really also, it's the thing that's like really funny is that we all know like what it's like to break up with a partner, like a girlfriend or a dude or like whatever. But like there's no books, stories or anything on like the guide to break up with a friend.
It's a breakup.
It's a breakup. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah.
It is literally a division. Like, unfortunately my friend, we're no longer friends or whatever, but there was like a division with our friends almost. Mm-hmm. Like they got that person. I got this person. Like it was a divorce, and it was also a 15-year plus relationship, and like unfortunately we aren't friends anymore, and it breaks my heart. Like literally every day I'm like, man, I wish we were friends again. Right. I have so many successes that I'm like, I want to call them up and tell them about it, but like they hate my guts right now.
Right.
I used to hate them for similar kind of reasons why we hate each other, but then we just failed off. And that was the thing, is we both met creatively. Like we were both in the poetry world, and we both like have always wanted to go on tour together with poetry. We've always wanted to write a book of poetry together, and like all of that's gone. But in a weird way, I think it motivated both of us to actually do what we needed to do. Like they needed to have their own poetry journey, and like I then went into screenwriting and everything.
Because she really wanted to go in her direction that she felt was going to be successful, and she did that. She did that with other shows.
But it was her success. Right. It's not your success.
Exactly.
And that's like the thing that I think is really hard for people to come to terms with, is the fact that you will have creative differences, and you will have fights, and you will have arguments. Like literally I write with my mom all the time. She's my editor. She's someone who and me and her like have full on arguments, like where I'm like, no, well, it's more like I argue with her. And then literally, I know she's not yelling at me, but like, and 90% of the time she's right. But that 10% I hold, I'm my father's daughter, and I'm stubborn as hell. But like, even then, like creative differences is part of the process as well. Like you're going to hit those milestones. You're going to hit those things where it's like, okay, we've come to a head.
It's never a smooth ride.
Oh, it's never a smooth ride.
Never.
Success. That's the other thing that's like so weird, is my friend Hollis, who's a songwriter and singer. She said this really brilliant thing where she was like, we always see the finished product, but we never see the sleepless nights.
Exactly.
And like you can see someone like blow up on Twitter or Instagram, or someone posts a song that's then successful. And it's like, yeah, but you don't see the like amount of shitty albums that they wrote, or amount of shitty songs that they wrote before like this became the pop hit. Yeah. And that's again the problem with compare culture and like Instagram. And I think it's very true about, I was literally just had a meeting with my old boss today. Yeah. And I was talking about how no one really cares about writing, right? Like bear with me, like the act of writing is a very sad act. It's just me and by myself, but so many people write about writers because we want to be seen, we want to be heard, but no one asks us like, how is your writing? It's like, how's your writing? Well, they always ask like, how's your writing going? But like, I don't ask a surgeon like, how's that surgery going? Right, it's we're that one field where people are like, how is your writing going? And they never really care about the process. They just care about the finished product.
Right, exactly. Like, who are you writing for now? Like, what's like,
exactly.
What do you have booked?
Yes. And also it's like this idea of like, whenever I'm like, I'm a writer, someone's like, well, what have I read of yours? And it's like, when I wasn't like who I am today, it would just be like, okay, you haven't read it, but it doesn't change the fact that I'm a writer. Like that was a huge thing. And that's like my biggest advice to anyone who wants to be any industry. If you want to be a singer, if you want to be a writer, if you want to be an actor, like if that's what you want to do, or have a podcast, if that's what you want to do, just say it. It's, if you're working towards it, you still get to be that person.
Exactly.
I've always been a writer, even when I was a door girl, even when I worked at a diner, even when I was a nanny, even when I was like a bartender, I was always still a writer.
And that's the thing too, is what we're talking about. Like we always say all the time, when you're in LA, you got hella jobs.
Slashes.
I got hella jobs right now.
I still have hella jobs. Like COVID has kind of thrown a wrench in it, but even when I was like last year, I worked at this place called The Wing. Fuck The Wing. But I worked there, and it was like, it was my what I called the rent paying job. Right. But I also was nannying, and I was also a door girl still. And I had 3 jobs, and I was also writing on the side. So like I
you did Sneakerheads Netflix.
And then I did Sneakerheads on Netflix, and I also did American Pie. Like there was those things that I was still like doing my rent paying job.
Right.
And it's very hard to just be a writer. Like it takes a long time. Like Stephen King talks about it where he's like, you know, people think I'm just like so successful and amazing. And he's like, there was a lot of years where I was a janitor and I was a teacher and like he wasn't Stephen King yet.
Right.
So I always am like, yo, not in a disrespectful way, but like keep your day job in the sense that like it builds character too.
It does. It humbles you.
It humbles you.
Because people like, you know, are like, they're seeing the TikTok numbers, they're seeing like the show and how much work I'm putting into it and I'm working, but they don't realize that like on Saturdays and Sundays I'm like not swifting hair. Is it swifting? I'm sweeping hair. Swifting hair.
Because you work on a salon, not because you're like a weird voodoo doll maker where it's like I'm saving your hair.
No, like I'm sweeping hair. I'm doing laundry. I'm folding towels.
And you have another 9 to 5.
And I have another 9 to 5.
That's Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
That's like, but that's a
8
thing.
to 5.
8 to 5. See, and that's the thing. But I also am like, I was raised like I think it's also, I think maybe you can touch into this too, like the immigrant child thing.
Yes.
Where like my dad was a bartender, a carpenter. He could fix people's cars. Like he just had every single job. And he was just always like, it's okay to have as many jobs as you can because it builds character and also it makes you very useful. Yeah. Like the amount of times I've been on a set or like in a writer's room where someone's been like, well, what's in this cocktail? And I'm like, oh, here, let me tell you. I grew up in a bar. And they're like, I've literally been hired because of my side jobs. Like I literally just had a meeting where someone was like, my agent was like, oh, they're interested in the fact that you used to be a door girl. There's like this show they want to do that's like, you know, kind of like Studio 54 or clubs or whatever.
Because you're living in that life and
And literally I have to say as a writer, being a door girl was one of the greatest fucking jobs I ever had because characters literally came to me. Like they were just like, here's $20, and then like
amazing. Actually,
these people, like the amount of people who just come up to me, the amount of content, especially in LA,
yes,
like the amount of content and the amount of people that would just like come up to me, and I'd just be like, I would literally have my notebook underneath the cash register and just like take notes, and I just like, and those characters do live in my stories now, and also it helps you because you can go into that world, and like I tell every writer or anyone who wants to be a writer is eavesdrop. Literally just like everything you overhear, write down. It's always funny dialogues. I mean, now it's easier because of COVID. You can't really eavesdrop. Also, people are wearing masks, so I don't know who's saying what.
Right.
Which I've realized that it's easier to shit talk when you're wearing a mask.
Oh, for sure.
Because like they can't reach your lips.
Right, but you can kind of talk with your eyes too. Like,
yeah. I've also realized that I can have full conversations with my dog and no one realizes that I'm talking to my dog.
Oh my God.
I'm like, Bat, look at that person over there. You know, and we're like judging.
Yeah.
But like there's a great account on Instagram, Overheard LA and Overheard New York. It's like look on that stuff for writing prompts and things like that.
Right.
But back to the point about day jobs, there's no shame in that.
Oh, no.
Honestly.
No.
There's this girl that we're in the same industry and we work together, and she proudly admitted she's never had a day job. And she kind of like scuffed it. Like she's like,
you'll meet those bitches in LA who are hella privileged and got those parents paying for the motherfucking rent. So they could just be just thotting and bopping and just living, being a writer, or just a musician,
an
actor, and their parents are paying for their fucking rent.
And you're like,
that also is happening in LA. No shades if it's anything.
And here's the thing, though: if that's your lifestyle,
that's fine. I get it.
Fine.
I would have that lifestyle, but don't be a fucking asshole.
I mean, honestly, I'm very jealous of it. But don't act like it's not a privilege.
Yeah.
Like I'm God, I sound like I'm shit talking about her, but I am. I'm reading Cassie David, Larry David's daughter's like memoir right now, book of essays, and she like has this thing about her nepotism, and like she kind of tries to like, it's not that big of a deal, and I'm like, no, like it is. Nepotism is really fucked up and annoying. But as I've learned, as someone who's like, my parents aren't in the industry. My uncle's not some famous producer or whatever.
My parents are immigrants.
I know my dad's an immigrant. He don't know nobody except like weird Irish politicians. They ain't gonna do shit for me. But one of the things is that like nepotism will get you the job interview, but it won't get you the job. Like there's been many times that I've gone up for something that I know like so-and-so's daughter or so-and-so's son's about to be up to it, but I got it because of my humbleness, or the fact that I'm like, yo, I had this weird childhood growing up, or the fact that, you know, hey, one time I, you know, like, I don't know if he will want me to tell this, but I have a guy friend who got a job because he said that he was the boom operator on a porn.
Oh shit.
And someone was like, that's incredible. Like, but that's what you want in a writer's room. You want people from all different walks of life that have all different weird storylines.
Right.
But like, there's nothing wrong. But the girl who was like very proud of the fact that she's never had a day job, she's like, well, I've only been a writer. I only get paid to write. And I'm like, yo, I've gotten a lot of jobs writing and I've never been paid. Like when I first started,
a lot of like, if you're a makeup artist, a hairstylist, shit, even having a fucking podcast, you're doing this shit for free.
For free 99. And what was even more annoying is when I lived at home, my parents, I didn't really care about saving and money and all that shit. Yeah. I would be getting paid in merch. Like I would get free t-shirts. Like I wrote for a bunch of like fashion blogs and like things like that. And I would like get a bucket hat or like a t-shirt or whatever. And, you know, at the time I was like, this is dope. And now I'm like, okay, this is my resume builder, but like now you got to pay me.
Right.
Like now you get to a point where
you kind of have to
like,
do the free work until you're like, okay, I have enough experience. You got to pay me.
Yeah, you got to pay me. And if you're lucky enough to go to college and everything and you get like internships that are towards credit, like that's nice money in a weird way because there's a lot of time where I took internships and I didn't get paid for shit.
Yeah, same.
Because I also didn't go to college. So I was like, this isn't for college credit. This is just them taking advantage of me as like a 19-year-old kid who wants to work at a venue.
Shit. I still get taken advantage of and I'm getting paid.
I mean, like it happens. Yeah. But I think what's important is that you always have to remember your worth. And you do have to remember that you can sometimes, or you need to put your foot down and be like, no, I can't do this for free. Someone like, I forget who it was, but someone like posted on Instagram, someone I follow that was like, yo, I'm no longer accepting favors. And I just like really kind of liked that where I was like, oh yeah, like I'm not going to do this as a favor anymore. Like I'm not going to be like, it's a tit for tat thing. Cause I know you're not going to give me my tat for my tit. Like it's just, you get to a point after so much free labor that you can be like, nah, I got to charge for this.
Oh and yeah, 100%.
You just got to say it. There's nothing wrong with it because here's the thing. Again, COVID has made it realize we all have to pay for rent. We all have to pay for food. We all have to pay for gas. So like sometimes people will be like, look, I can't pay you as much as you think you should be paid, but I can give you something.
Right.
There's been a lot of times I've gone and I've been like demanded, like, I want to get paid this much. And they're like, okay. And I'm like, oh shit, it should have been more.
Oh yeah. You know? That's happened to me so many times. I'm like, oh shit, I was
like, I should have added a 0 and a comma, but nope. I was like, I'm only worth this much. But you learn that with experience. And there's a lot of people in LA who just think that they should get paid without even any experience. So they just show up and they're like...
That too. And I'm like, you need to...
But that's what I'm saying.
Swift some hair first.
You need to swift some hair, okay? Struggle is not just, I think, a thing people experience. I think it's necessary. I think struggle and you know, this whole idea of like, where's rent money going to come from really does build character. Like, I'm not 100% down for like the starving artist vibe. Like, I don't want to be starving.
No, I want to have a good life still.
Yeah, I want to be, you know, it's not broke. I want to be broke-ay, you know? Like, I just want to be like...
I mean, I was at one point starving in my dungeon.
Oh my God, I know. I just
that's a different story.
That's a different story. But I also know what you mean though, because I was like telling my mom about how I was like, yeah, like I was telling her like there was like a week I ate just cup of noodle, and she was like, where'd you get it from? And I was like, I stole it from the set that I was working on. Like just like weird things,
weird shit like that.
Oh my God, when I was a PA. And like they would have like the crafty, I would go at the end of the day and just like pack my backpack.
I lived at the 99-cent store.
Oh God, I still go to the 99-cent store. I mean, I'm not balling quite yet.
Right, but like I was getting my essentials.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You just had to.
You just have to. Everything's $1. You know.
But I feel like I'm glad that I've was kind of my parents, like, it's not that they can't give me support, they're just not going to. You know what I mean?
In that capacity, I get that.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't want to ask. Like, I rather go get my toilet paper at a 99-cent store versus asking them for $1.
No,
or
for sure.
Or for like $5 to get actual better toilet paper.
I've definitely, when I was like doing way better. Like when I worked at Universal Pictures, like it literally, I was like, Mom, Dad, I'm paying for everything. And it was like really nice. And it was able to do that. Now since things have shifted, like my parents have been very supportive in the sense that they're like, if you need help, like let us know. But kind of like what you're saying, it's like, I feel so guilty and I feel so bad. Yeah. And I think it's the immigrant thing. Cause my dad sacrificed everything for me to be a starving writer.
Do you feel like that your parents being an immigrant or your dad being an immigrant has really shaped you in your work ethic today?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because I realized I've had actually a very intense conversation with my mother for the first time in our entire life about like our relationship.
How so?
I know, it's crazy because I always talk about how mine and my mother's relationship is kind of fucked up, and we're still working on it, you know, still in therapy. But one day, because I told her I was in therapy, and she was, of course, any parent that finds out their child is in therapy, they're like, oh, it's because of me. You know, like I feel like any parents are like,
you don't
obviously.
Need to, yeah.
But no, she was supportive of it. She's just like, well, but my mom's also like doesn't know how to be like sweet and empathetic. She just is a very direct, like, why? What is it? Like, get straight to the point, you know? And I'm just like, I just didn't feel loved, you know? And I'm like crying. I'm like, I just didn't feel loved. And one day I went to go visit her. I think it was for her birthday. And she sat down and was like, you know, I cried when I found out that you felt like you didn't feel loved. Like, I love you so much, you know? And she's like, and she kind of put in this, my therapist also put in this perspective, and my mom and my therapist both put in that way, where it's like being an immigrant to America, new country, you know, new marriage, new family, you know, new world completely, you know, and being on your own and having to survive. And there's a lot of times people come to America or they move somewhere, you know, like, and they end up going back home. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. But my mom just didn't want to go back to the Philippines, you know? Yeah. And especially because the government there is, I mean, we're corrupt here, let's be real. But
different corruption.
Different corruption. Like,
we can say fuck our government. I know for a fact that our parents can't go back to their homelands and say fuck the government. They'll be imprisoned.
They'll be imprisoned. So my mom was like, we have to make it here. So it's survival mode. Yep. And so a lot of times, especially, I don't know what it's like in other immigrants from other countries, but especially in the Filipino culture, when you're an immigrant, it's like you can't have your emotions. Oh, because it will.
You're busy. You're busy surviving.
But you don't want to fall off, you know? So it's like grind mode, like just fucking kill it. You know what I mean? Like just numb.
Save every dollar.
Exactly. Save every dollar. Everything. Like, don't have your emotions. Don't let this fucking get to you. Don't let this shit break you.
Be strong for your kids.
Be strong for your kids, for your family. And my mom was like, you know, just saying she wasn't, you know, I love Poppy. I love my dad. I feel like I always gotta shame my dad somehow in every episode. But, you know, like, I love my dad so much. But my dad is so sweet. He's so just slower, and not slow in the sense
he's
of
tender.
Dumb. He's just tender. Kind. He's chill. Like, he kicking it, you know, like he going with the flow. My mom is a little bit more type A. So she felt like she definitely had to have everything under control. Right. So, you know, she wasn't obviously happy in her marriage. She's trying to survive in this world, and she's trying to teach me, you know, how to survive in this world, but she's not showing me love and empathy. And she's, you know, back then she obviously doesn't really know what she's doing. She's just, they're doing the best they can do. Yeah. That's what we learned. It's like, oh, they're just trying their best. And so it was very,
years to learn that, but
yes. very militant. So anyways, it trickles down to like, that's why, because my mom told me, she's like, the one lesson that I wanted you to take from us and from me was how to make it. She's like, ooh, I want you to make it so badly. Yeah. And I cried. I was like, damn, like, that's why I am who I am. That's why I work 7 days a week. That's why I'm independent. That's why I'm like, oh, I want to start a podcast. I'm going to fucking make it.
It's going to be the greatest podcast ever.
It's not going to just be some like we're gonna make this fucking
It's not gonna
great.
be a hobby, it's gonna be a living, you know?
Exactly. Like we're like, no matter what I do, I'm going to make it great.
Yeah.
And like it's because I am raised by
an immigrant parent. I think that's very true. I mean, like my mom, she's from, you know, Montana. She's from the States. You know, she grew up like, you know, she was fairly poor, Missoula, Montana, you know, KDOT. She had a very great, humble beginning, you know, whatever. And then my grandpa Bud, RIP, great man. He worked on the railroad and he didn't make a lot of money. He was away from home all the time, but he like also instilled that in my uncles and my aunt and my mom, was just like, you know, work hard, show up there for your family. Like he had a really great ethic. On my dad's side, like I hate my grandmother on my dad's side. Like his mom is just one of the worst human beings in the world. I can't wait until she dies.
Oh shit.
Sorry, she's just a horrible human being. Okay.
Yeah.
But with that though, my dad always, his family, my dad is probably one of the most successful ones he's the oldest. He's one of the most successful ones, but because of how
my dad too.
Okay.
Out of his siblings.
Right. But for how awful my grandmother is, like she made him feel like like he was worthless. Like she was physically abusive. She was emotionally abusive. Like she was just horrible. She hated my dad, worshipped my uncles in kind of also a weird, like incestual way. Like she just like loved them way too much. And then just like was like, no, you're horrific. And like really turned my dad into a black sheep. And so unfortunately my dad was always like, I'm never good enough. I'm never going to be the strong. He never like said those things, but I could always see it growing up that he always wanted to be the best. He wanted to be the great. And so sometimes that like my sister and I, that cold mentality where it's like he came to America to like show that he can make it and also be like, I don't need my family. I could do this on my own. And my mom like kind of like in a weird way saved him and just was like, I can show you love. Like I can show you like how to make a family. I can show you success. And like, you know, my parents now own their own business and they're, you know, very successful in their own right. And so for my dad, it was very much that cold thing where there wasn't a lot of emotion at first in my like childhood. Like I had like a, you know, besides my grandma ruining it, like I had a cool childhood. It had its trauma and everything, but for my dad, it's just he really wanted to be the best, you know? And it wasn't until I was like in high school that I like even realized that my dad liked me because he was just so like rigid and cold. Like I didn't think he liked me.
Oh, and yeah, then that was my mom.
Yeah, and like, you know, and then it wasn't until I thought I was really into spoken word poetry and I was really into poet and I was going to be a poet and my mom was like, yeah, go ahead and do that. And like my dad just like, I just think he kind of had this like, you're going to be a starving artist. Like you're not going to be a doctor or a lawyer. Like I've sacrificed everything so you can just do this. Like he never said that, but I always got that vibe.
Right.
So one of those moments that kind of like what you had with your mom was I was 16. I had just won the like Seattle Youth Poetry Slam and my parents had to like catch a flight. So I didn't get to see them. Like they saw me win, but I didn't get to see them afterwards. And then when I got home, there was like a dozen red roses and a sign that says Roseanne is brilliant. And it still hangs above my bed in my dad's writing. I know now like, oh my God, I'm getting teary eyed. But like, everyone who goes in my bedroom is like, what is that? And I'm like, that's the first time my dad was ever proud of me. And like realizing that he was like proud of me and like still to this day is like, he like said, I know I'm tearing up like, because I just want him, because he never got to feel that. He never had a parent that was proud of him. And, you know, as much as like I fuck up and I like make bad decisions and everything, like he has now, and now that, you know, with my own therapy and his therapy and stuff, we've like learned to like be proud of each other. Like I'm like seeing him, like he hugs me more than my mom does. Like I love K-Dot, but my dad is like, come here. Like I could just be standing in the kitchen. He's like, you know, because he's making up for it.
Right.
And that like really kind of sparks it. Like I'm doing this for him. Like my mom, she's like, you know, she's my writing partner, my editor basically.
Yeah.
And so she's just like, my mom's fine. She's great. Okay. We get that. But I literally do this for him. And because of that, I'm doing it the way he did it, which is have hella jobs, never stop, going to be the best. I'm going to like, I'm going to support my parents one day. They're going to be able to retire. I don't think my mom will retire though. She's like, she just loves writing and loves her job too much. She's never going to stop. But like, just so that my dad would be like, don't be stressing.
Right.
Because I literally watched my dad stress about like money so fucking much.
My mom too. Like she would say like, you know, and it makes sense. I mean, sometimes there would be like no food in the kitchen and she opened up to it. She was just like, I think it was like when my parents were divorced and separated, she was just, on her own, and she was just like, it's just like she was just so scared about paying the bills and mortgage that she cared so much about that, that it was like, to me, I just didn't see that. I was like, there's no hot Cheetos in the pantry.
I know, because we're just ungrateful children sometimes, because we don't know, because we don't have that perspective. Again, like what we were talking about earlier in the podcast, where like as a child, you're like, creativity, I want to create things, I want to make things, I want to play, but you don't see the adulting that's happening, the stress that a parent is feeling, and like, my mom worked, right? Like my mom went to the 9 to 5. My parents made that choice. And like my dad knew, like, my wife is going to be the breadwinner. She's going to be making less than her male counterparts. And she was, but they made that sacrifice. And then my dad would watch us. He was a stay-at-home dad. And then he would go be a carpenter. He painted our local McDonald's. And I remember like going to school and telling everyone that. And I was so proud of it. And like, I won't say her name, but someone made fun of me because of that. And was like, your family's poor. And I was like, F you.
Oh my God.
I won't say her name.
Who was it?
We don't have
it's not Jaffer, right?
No, it's not Jaffer. It's someone from elementary school. Oh God, no, it's not Jaffer. Jaffer
like,
gets like this immigrant mentality too with her parents. You know?
Yeah, she gets. I was like, she wouldn't say that, but just to clarify that people don't like assume.
Yes, no, this is like someone from John Muir Elementary School in Mrs. Hughes' 4th grade class. You know who you are when I was proud that my dad painted the local McDonald's and you called my family white trash. You know who you is, okay? And you know who I am because I was the only white girl in that class. But like, it's just like my mom would go to work in the daytime and then my dad would go do these like, side gigs and shit, and like would then bartend at night. And like we went with him if my mom had to work late or whatever. Yeah. So you do that. Like, and even if you're not the kid of an immigrant and you have parents that are like, blue collar or like had to like work and sweat and whatever, it's hard to see your parents struggle. It's really hard financially. But then you got to remember that, like, that's my whole point. Like, I'm doing this so my dad never has to stress about this.
Exactly.
It's funny because I was talking to my friend JJ and Tito, and we were like, God, I'm going to be so jealous of my kids because they're going to have it better off than I did. And I'm going to be like, man, you don't even fucking understand. Like, you get things now,
No, I know my kids are going to know. I'm going to humble the fuck out of my kids.
I mean, I will too.
Be like, you don't get this money?
No, but it's also like weird because I'm going to be like, I know they're going to have a better childhood.
I'll put more Cheetos in the pantry for you.
But like, it's that idea that like, right now, if you're listening to this podcast and you're creative and whatever, and you're struggling and whatnot, you're doing fine. Everyone's
especially
success.
If you're like 23 and you feel like you're supposed to
God.
have it all together. Even if you're fucking 33, 23 to 30, like it's
even if you're 37, because Vera Wang did not become a wedding dressmaker until she was 70. Okay,
there you go.
So like, you're fine. You know, like Oprah was fired from all her jobs. She didn't get her shit until her late 30s. Like, we're good. Like, honestly, everyone has their own timeline. And it's different for every person. That's important to say.
Yeah.
Don't look at your social media timeline because your timeline's different. Okay? Like, you just have to know.
It's not even a chronicle fucking order. It's all.
It makes no sense. It's never in. It's all
Instagram
over the place.
is the mall now, if y'all had the update.
It is.
It's a mall.
It's a mall now. Oh my God, I don't want to hang out.
I'm a part of that because I put up my merch.
That's okay though, because you're gonna buy Broke Girl Therapy merch or whatever. Yeah. But everyone has their own like path of the way they go about it. You know what I mean? And so just chill. Honestly, just chill. Also, you can change your career as many times as you want. I'm pretty sure. I
sure did.
Right? And I'm pretty sure that, like, I think, honestly, like, once I'm, like, done with screenwriting, I want to go teach. I just want to go be a teacher.
I would love I feel like I could see you traveling and teaching.
Yeah, I just want to teach folks. I literally want to go to colleges to tell people to drop out of college. Like, that's, like, my goal in life. I, like, want to go on tour. Sure. I know I would. But I'm just, like, because in this time frame in life, it's, like, college isn't everything either. You know what I mean? It's a very unfair, privileged institute that I know so many people are stressing about college debt, which is disgusting.
That's me 100%. Why did I go to an expensive ass fashion school? Don't go to FITM, y'all.
Don't go to FITM, y'all. You heard it first. Or don't go to college. You don't have student debt, but you'll still be broke. But like, I don't have student debt. All my debt is like medical.
I mean, unless
shit
your parents
and stuff.
pay for it, but even then, like, rather just get that and buy a house.
Honestly,
if I could have a fucking like,
that's okay. So
that's smart.
That's super smart.
That's better.
Sarah Silverman was being interviewed, and she said that her dad, she did one freshman year at NYU, and her dad said, hey, I'll pay for your rent and utilities like it's college for 3 years, and then after that 3 years up, go figure out what the fuck you want to do. But I'll just give...
Yeah.
It's so much better, though. Like,
it's so much better. Except I wouldn't want to be rent. I would want it to be like something I can own eventually.
Yes. But, well, for him, it's because her dad was like, look, I know you're going to be a successful stand-up comedian, so I'm like investing in this. But he was like, I'm not going to pay for this college anymore because I don't think you need it. And so he's like, I'm just going to pay for your New York rent, which at that time was probably super cheap, but like New York rent and utilities, and you just go do stand-up for 3 years and like see what happens after that.
Yeah.
I think that's fucking brilliant.
That's brilliant.
And I think that the only reason I think people should go to college is
and privilege, because my parents didn't have. I had to get a loan.
See, that's the other thing. It's very privileged too. But like a great way to be like, if you are one of those parents that's like, I can meet you at these increments,
right.
You know, and if I have to buy your books, like make sure it's books that you want to. But like, I only think you should go to school if you want to be a doctor, a lawyer. I think those should become trade schools,
right.
like all that shit. But long story short, don't go to college. That's my conspiracy theory about life. Don't waste that money. Invest it.
That's going to be like a doctor. Like, you know what I mean?
That's what I'm
like,
saying. If you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, please go to school.
But not a creative.
No, not to be a creative.
No. Plug yourself. I'm running out of studio time.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. It's online. You can just do online classes, masterclass. Sorry. My name is Rose _ Etta Stone. I will tell you all the things you can learn from college on YouTube. That's kind of like what I did. I just read everything.
Yeah. Honestly, YouTube has everything now.
Everything. YouTube University.
There you go. And then follow me, Stefanie Maegan, or go to brocotherapy.com. All that shit is there.
And get the merch.
Buy the merch. Buy the merch. Buy the merch. Okay, we got to go. I'm over my time. Okay, bye. Growth therapy.